President Obama says he's confident his executive order on immigration will ultimately survive a legal challenge now being waged by 26 states. But as WGBH reporter Stephanie Leydon tells us, within Greater Boston's undocumented community, the first ruling in the case has set off a familiar feeling of uncertainty.
While her 8-year-old daughter is at school, Vanessa Santos would like to be at work. She has a job lined up, but no work permit. 2 weeks ago, she realized that under President Obama's executive order, she qualified for an expansion of the DACA program. That's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It would allow her to legally work.
And I think in about 24 hours, I was able to gather all my documents and I was able to fill out all the forms. And I'm a pretty organized person. And I called all my family. I said, oh, my God, this is going to happen.
These papers document Vanessa's life since she arrived in this country 25 years ago at age 14. She was ready to submit them last week when a federal judge in Texas temporarily halted Obama's executive order, the expanded DACA program. And Vanessa's hopes are now on hold.
When you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, that throws everything off. It's just very hard, and you feel like you do feel like it's unfair.
Ese aplauso, buenos días. Yo no acepto ese aplauso es para ustedes.
It's a feeling echoed in gatherings like this one today in East Boston. Undocumented immigrants hoping to benefit from the president's executive order, not only childhood arrivals, but also parents of U.S.-born children, were updated on what may come next.
Most likely will be fined without grounds, and it will be put away.
You are confident that Obama's executive order will prevail?
Actually, the interesting thing about the federal court decision in Texas is that it has nothing to do with the actual authority of the president to do this. It's totally a procedural matter. I'm confident that it will be overcome.
Of an estimated 185,000 undocumented immigrants in Massachusetts, about a third could potentially benefit from the president's executive order. And as Vanessa points out, regardless of the politics and the court rulings, none of them are leaving the country.
Let's have a fair process that will allow individuals like me and like many others to stay, pay our fair share, and do the work that we all want to do to provide to our families and to give back to our community. Something has to be done.
But what? In a country deeply divided on immigration policy, there are no easy answers, and for Vanessa, no peace of mind. Stephanie Leydon, WGBH News.
Here to discuss the legal challenge to President Obama's executive action are Jessica Vaughn, the Director of Policy Studies at the Center for Immigration Studies, and Ava Malona, who directs the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. Thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you.
So let me start out by getting your reactions to Judge Andrew Hannon's ruling down in Texas that temporarily blocked the implementation of these executive orders. Ava, beginning with you, what was your take on that? Were you surprised?
To be honest, we were not surprised. This judge has been very vocal about how he feels about prosecutorial discretion and vocal about the whole executive action. So we were not surprised that this decision, came. But it's very disappointing for the communities and people who are ready to come forward and fill out the application and get the documentation ready for implementation.
Jessica, how about you?
Well, I think the judge got it right. I mean, the president's executive actions were problematic in a number of ways. One is because, as he himself, the president has said many times, he doesn't have the authority to do this. And the key is that it goes beyond prosecutorial discretion to actually granting a benefit, a work permit, to a very large number of people, completely oblivious of Congress. And the other thing that the judge acknowledged that's very important is that if this action were allowed to go through, it would impose very significant costs on state and local governments and taxpayers.
I have to ask you about one thing. Sorry, Ava, I should let you jump in, but before you do, sure. My sense is that the president has actually said he does have the authority to do this and that it does constitute prosecutorial discretion because there isn't the money required to deport all these individuals. So did I get that wrong, or do you have a different interpretation than, say, Ava might?
Well, he has said lately that he can do it, but about 20 times before, when asked about why he wasn't doing this before, he always said, because I don't have the authority, and that's why no other president has tried to do this either.
All right, I know you want to
have a different interpretation and a different view, which is in agreement with over 135 legal experts and academics across the country, that the president does have the legal authority for prosecutorial discretion. And what President Obama did was not new. Prosecutorial discretion, it's a well-established tradition in immigration policy and American law. And there were 39 instances before this executive order in place, similar. And, since President Eisenhower and 1956 till the 70s and the 90s, we have seen such measures under President Reagan and under President Bush. So this is not new. The president does have the legal authority to proceed. The best solution would be that the Congress will act, but the president had to do something, and in a way, this is a breather for Congress till they decide to fix the immigration system legislatively.
Sorry, I want to make sure we get to the question of congressional action, but my understanding of the ruling is that it was actually a pretty narrow one. The judge didn't say that the president doesn't have the authority to do this. He said that there wasn't enough time allowed for comment, right, before the actions were taken.
That was one aspect of it.
One aspect of it. Okay,
now, didn't go through the right procedures under the Administrative Procedure Act.
What were some other aspects that we should make sure to be talking about here?
Well, he went into this concept called abdication and discussed in his ruling that what the president has done is really not just prosecutorial discretion, but in fact abandoning immigration enforcement to a very large extent, because the reality is that most of the people covered under these actions really don't face a realistic threat of deportation, and many have been living in the country for some time. So that's what makes that, and the fact that he's giving them a benefit, permission to work, to which they're not otherwise entitled, is what makes it go beyond just prosecutorial discretion.
And it wasn't just about comment. Ava, hold your thought for a moment, because I want to get your reaction to some comments that the president made yesterday at this town hall in Florida, where he said essentially that he is going to, and his administration will prevail in this case because the law is on their side and history is on their side. Let's take a look.
This is just one federal judge. We have appealed it very aggressively. We're going to be as aggressive as we can, because not only do we know that the law is on our side, but history is also on our side.
So what do you think about that?
Well, the president is absolutely right. The history is on our side. I said 39 instances before President Obama's action. This has been used, and it's a tradition in American law. So we are confident that the executive actions will prevail. And I would say that the judge's decision, it's a political decision. When under President Bush, 1.5 million people were given relief under the same executive action, no one brought a lawsuit against the government. And this speaks to the polarized issue of immigration. So in my view, in Mira's view, it's simply a political decision to delay the implementation.
I think I saw Jessica taking issue with your characterization of President Bush's action.
Right. The key here is that those previous executive actions that legalized people were done in consonant with congressional intent. First, and they were also much, much smaller. In fact, many people did question the authority to accomplish those at the time, but Congress went along with it, agreed with it, and later ratified the exact same programs. So this is very different. We clearly have a great disagreement of opinion between Congress and the president on this, and Congress is trying to express itself through the appropriations process right now.
Let's close on the topic of Congress, because we only have about 30 seconds left. How long will it be? We always hear that Congress has not taken meaningful action on immigration. How long will it be before Congress does do that? Let's start with you, Ava.
Well, it has been a long time that the Congress failed the American people to fix the immigration system. And the president acted within his legal authority to do something. So doing something, it's better than nothing. But Congress needs to act, and our hope is that they will get their act together and will come up with a compromise package of of a bill that would pass and will fix the system.
Jessica, do you see a compromise bill on the horizon anytime soon?
Not one big bill. What's been announced is that a number of the bills that passed the House of Representatives before are going to move forward. The House Judiciary announced today that there are 4 bills that they are going to try to move through very quickly.
All right, Jessica Vaughn, Ava Malona, thank you both.